There. No, he's muted. Can you unmute him? Danielle, Larry, can you unmute Larry?
Larry Prentice?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. All right. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag
flag
of the
of the United
States
States of America,
to the
to
republic
the republic
for which it
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
And I did realize now we're missing Val. Forgetting. I've got to make a list of all the members. We're missing Val, but I'm sure she'll join us in a few minutes. Okay, then we move on to Chairman's update. I do have an update tonight, and I'll be sending it out. I've been working on a response. I received an email from Amy, our first selectman. I don't know if she's here with us tonight or not, but it's they're working on changing the budget ordinance. The ordinance committee has proposed a change to the budget ordinance. And what they've proposed is that if one budget, we have a bifurcated budget. The town budget and the school budget are two separate parts. And they're proposing that that if one of the budget passes, then the other won't, they can't change that budget. Right now, the way it stands is that the Board of Finance, which is our governing body, can take money out of either one, even if one passes. They're proposing that the one that passes freezes, they freeze that one, and the one that doesn't pass, which in our town is typically the school budget,
Yep.
that's the only one they can take the money out of. Well, I did some research on the web, and I wasn't really involved in politics at the time when they made the decision to separate the budgets. So I don't understand the reasoning for it. And there are 43 towns now in the state of Connecticut that have a bifurcated budget, which is about, which represents, of the 169 towns, about 26% of the towns in Connecticut have bifurcated budgets. That does not include the towns that are regional that have to vote on the high school budget separately. Every town has a grant, 1 through 8 school. But if they have a regional high school, then they vote on that separately. That doesn't include those towns. These are towns that have voluntarily separated their budgets. And the surprising thing that I read was there's a study out there that they made about 5 years after a case that they went to the Supreme Court of Connecticut, that most of the towns separated their budget because the towns were failing and the school always passed, which is exact opposite of what we face every time. And essentially, what we're going to run into, it's dangerous for Thompson. And the reasons that I put down in my ramblings and my notes is that we're going to run up against our minimum budget requirement problems if they can only cut the school budget. Because we can't go below minimum required budget, MBR. No matter how many times, they're going to have to stop at some point. Also, and when I was reading the problems, the disadvantage of a bifurcated budget is that it can divide a town. It promotes an us versus them mentality. And I feel that Thompson has lost sight of this common goal over the years. And we certainly have run down that rabbit hole of an us versus them. It's become divisive in this town. And we currently, under this present administration, are looking at ways to join act cooperatively with the town and find cost efficiencies, whether it's workers' compensation, insurance. We're looking at now technology, bringing our technology departments together. And if we continue to keep the town, I'm proposing that we put the budget together, back together as one budget. We're one town, and we should act as one town. The school budget would continue to be a separate line item on the total budget, as it has to be. So, and we would continue to present the school budget as a separate presentation, because what we do today is we vote on them separately and then we put them all back together again to make, to calculate the mill rate. So I don't understand why we're voting on them separately. If we were a town that went out with a school tax and a town tax, a mill rate for the school and a mill rate for the town, that would make some sense to me. But then we mush them all back together again and have one mill rate. So these are just thoughts. I'm going to try to clean this paper all back up. I also went and did the percentage increase that we're voting on for the school over the last 5 years, and this percentage increase that we're voting on for the town. You lose sight of that percentage because the town is a much smaller number. People in our town are going to go, hey, well, what's 7 million when you're voting on 18 and 19 million for the school? And now that's what they're seeing. So there's a lot of problems in my mind with not only freezing the budget to say you can't touch the budget that passed, it's a lot of problems with splitting the budget apart to begin with. My opinion. I'm going to get this out to you once I clean it up a little bit. It's going to be discussed Thursday night at the Board of Finance because they've also been asked to put their input in, and next Tuesday night at the Board of Selectmen. Also, any changes to an ordinance has to go before a town meeting. And that's where it will really be impacted, whether or not we put the budget back together again, or whether we change the ordinance has to go to a town meeting. And that's where we would need everybody in the town to support us that's saying, no, you cannot. I understand where people are coming from. They voted to pass a budget. Why are you messing with that budget that we already voted to pass? I understand that, but
Kathleen, can I say something?
of course you may. Shut me up.
I mean, over the course of the past couple of years, there's been more talk in town, I think, than a long time about putting the budgets back together. So I find it actually quite interesting that the Board of Selectmen's choosing to even kind of go further the other way. They're already separate, and now they want to separate more. We've had this discussion many times. I don't care if people look at me sideways. The people in the don't support the school budget. And I've heard that conversation from many people. They can deny it if they want, but they'd be lying. And at the end of the day, if it's one budget, you're going to get the entire town either behind it or not. And we are one town, we're one budget, we're one mill rate. And I think that, it's time that it goes back to the way it was and we just deal with it. Yeah. We heard that fallacy that the town didn't get cut last year, or that the town did get cut last year, and they didn't. They just refinanced a bunch of stuff and they changed the numbers around.
Right, so, exactly. And our budget went up 1.5% and theirs went up 2.37%, even with all the refinancing. And
John, can I say?
I'm so tired of hearing it's not supposed to be the town versus the school. It's really easy for the town to say that because they're the ones that keep getting whatever they want. Okay. And we're the ones that keep helping them whenever we get a chance to. So at some point it either comes back together or, we're going to keep going down this same road of fighting our budget every year. So that's my 2 cents.
John, I don't believe this is coming from the selectman's office. This comes from the ordinance review thing. It's, I'm sure that I know at least one of the selectmen who are in favor of putting it back together.
Oh, I agree with you. 100% agree with you.
Kathleen?
Yes. Yes, Tom.
Has there been any discussion around, I know that the school budget comes in, around 18 million,
Mhm.
but technically our spending plan ends up being, I believe, funded by about 7 million from the state.
Oh, yes, yes,
So
I know, and that
really-
doesn't show up on the budget they vote on either.
Right, so really our budget is about 11 million,
Mm-hmm.
but the taxpayers never see that. They just see the 18 or the 19, so.
Well, and you could also say somewhat of the town is funded by the state also. They get around 2 million from the state too, so.
Right, but it would be nice to have some clarity around that so the taxpayers know that, they're not on the hook for all 18 million.
Well, these are true. These are thoughts that you need to think about for the town meeting that we bring towards what they try to do or the selectmen's meeting next Tuesday night when they discuss it.
Okay,
Okay? These are
Yep.
things that you need to start thinking about. I'm going to forward all this to you. It's also, there's a state regulation that says that we cannot bring forward a budget that knowingly underfunds the school budget, that underfunds the school's budget, but also the governing body, in this case, the Board of Finance, cannot knowingly send to the voters a budget that knowingly underfunds the school, which they, in my mind, in my opinion, they did that this year.
Yep.
Well, I think it's more than your opinion, Kathleen. I think it's a fact.
Yeah.
I think it's a fact. So if we want, I'm angry about what they did. We told them that our insurance was going up $400,000, and they cut us, and we can use just a number, and they cut us to $200,000.
Yep. No, it was a very dirty spring. They have nothing. They have no moral leg to stand on this year. I don't
So-
care.
They knowingly put to board, they broke a state regulation, they knowingly underfunded the school. And I'll be first to say that to their faces.
Are they aware of that regulation?
Yeah,
No.
but I, probably not, but I don't, and I looked for what they just say, in that white paper they write up.
Yep.
And I don't have the regulation. I don't have the number of the regulation other than it's, I'm going to ask Steve tomorrow night. Not my Steve, but our attorney tomorrow night to get the actual regulation other than the MBR regulation. Anyway, okay. But so if you can attend the Board of Finance on Thursday night, definitely if you can attend the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday night, and then we'll take it from there.
Are they both Zoom meetings, Kathleen?
Yes, I believe they are. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, citizens' comments. Okay, we'll have a chance at the end. Now we have our student spotlight reports. Who are our student?
I believe Cole Kadir. Danielle, do you see Cole?
And I'd also like to introduce to the board our most recently elected to
Okay.
the Board of Education Liaison, Zainab Ajoun.
Pardon me?
Zainab Ajoun is our newest liaison, and I know that she is on. She was recently elected on Friday.
Okay, well then let's start with Dana then, so she can introduce herself or himself.
And she has a very original name. Her name is Zainab with a Z.
Zaina with a Z, okay. It's like my son, Zave with a Z, okay.
Hi
Zainab.
everyone. Like Miss Perrett said, my name's Zainab.
Okay.
I'm new at this, so bear with me.
Sure.
So I don't think we had any student spotlight things for this month, but I have the report in front of me, so I guess I'll just start with the upcoming events.
Mhm.
A lot of clubs have resumed and meetings are over Zoom. And because of COVID-19 restrictions, a lot of the events that would normally happen in person have been postponed or canceled. We had 2 student voice forums, one concerning mask breaks and the other one concerning distance learning on snow days. A lot of students have come forward requesting more mask breaks because they're supposed to happen, you know, periodically throughout the day. And it's hard to keep track, like what teachers do it when and how long they do it for. And a lot of students have also been wondering if at least the high school would be able to do distance learning on snow days. But I know that's probably something that needs to be approved by the state before we can instate it in the school. And that's all.
Okay,
Oh,
is
student council meeting.
Cole with us tonight?
I don't think so. Danielle doesn't see him on the list.
Okay, all right, then thank you very much, Zaina.
Yep.
Our next item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from our September meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Jody.
Jody, okay, and
This
then,
is Linda, I'll second it.
all right, well, Jody and Linda. Jody made the motion, Linda seconds it. Any discussion?
Linda,
Yeah, Linda, okay. You have anything to say, Linda? It's okay? No? Oh my goodness.
Thumbs
Thank you
up.
very much. All right, then hearing none, I will entertain, okay, hearing none, then I will, all in favor of accepting the motion as presented to accept the minutes for September 14th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstain, any abstentions? No, we were all there. So that's it. The minutes pass. Okay. Unanimous. Subcommittee updates. I don't believe we had any subcommittees. Did you have, Tom, did you have an alumni meeting or?
No, we have not. I know that there has been some discussions. They're looking at different fundraisers. Because I don't believe, and Deb Spinelli's on here tonight, but I don't believe the one of our big fundraisers, which is the CalPlop Festival, I don't believe will be happening this year. So we're looking at some alternative ways to raise money. So I hope to have a better update once that all gets approved.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, Deb?
Yeah, I've talked to Kai's Orr. She doesn't want to bring the cow over here. She's talking to her friend who ran the cow plop in their own like corral area, how they had to lay it out. So she's supposed to be getting back to me.
Okay.
Not a dead issue yet.
Okay.
The cow is grazing right now, preparing. Is she with her cohorts? That's all I want to know.
Okay.
Or
All right.
cohorts.
I'll turn it over to the superintendent for our, I can tear this off, for the enrollment update and other subjects. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Herbert. So before we start, I want to share something really fun with everyone tonight. Today, the Thompson Public Schools was surprised with a delivery from Jill St. Cyr from It Starts at Home in partnership with Earl Rosebrooks. And they are both Turtle Up Memorial High School graduates. They came today to give us a donation of 900 specialized tiger masks.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
Students, and they are beautiful masks. They were custom made. And this is thanks to Earl's business, Fluid Coating Technology. We are just really so grateful that two of our alum went out of the way to make sure that our kids had some custom made tiger masks. And on Friday, we will be distributing those to our students to take home. And if we have enough left over, to our faculty. But we want to thank Earl and Jill for this nice surprise and this very, very donation. our students. So it's kind of a fun way. If we have to wear face coverings, isn't it nice to be donning our hot tiger? So anyway, so that starts off my some good news for a change. So as you well know, October 1st, we have to finalize our enrollment numbers for the state. And there's a lot of transfers that happen in and out over the summertime. And even though last month I reported that we had 990 students, we didn't have a lot of the withdrawals taken out of the system. So we did a lot of students that moved out and students that shifted to other schools. Down to 958 students, 410 at Mary R. Fisher, 305 at the middle school, and 243 at the high school. That's a discrepancy of around 40 students. The number that I want to bring your attention to, and this is a number that I know Mr. Angelo has been watching, is that our homeschool numbers continue to climb. So we are at currently 50 students that we know of that are homeschooled. Many of those students may come back once things settle with COVID, but right now, for some reason, distant learning and the distant learning schedule wasn't appropriate for their families. So we do see a little bit of an uptick, and I will say that this is statewide. When I speak to our regional superintendents, many other districts are experiencing the same thing. So our numbers right now are at 958. Holding's pretty steady at this point. And that is about it. Our numbers are still stable. In our Bradley program, we're still at 15. Mr. Jones also wants to send his apologies. He had no power this evening and his cell phone was just about dead. So I don't know if he's going to make it to the meeting, but I wanted everyone to know it. That's why he's not participating.
Okay.
Okay.
Kathleen, can we ask a question?
Sure, Tom.
So Melinda, on the number of the 958, is that the number that was reported to the state then? Did we make that deadline of October 1 with that number?
Yes, that is the October 1 number.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I mean, it looks like it's promising, obviously, with the freshman class being at 82.
Right.
Hopefully that trend continues, because those are the numbers that, you know, we hope we can start to build off of. And again, your point, those 50 that are homeschooled, at some point we hope they come back, folded back into our overall enrollment.
And I honestly think that some families did have some keeping up with the learning, and that's why they flipped to the homeschooling. And hopefully they'll come back. We have students are moving in and out all the time. We are still experiencing more students coming back from distant learning. We're around 225 students now that are at home. I know the middle school and the high school almost every week see more students coming back. One of the things that we're not seeing is ridership on the buses increasing that much. So we do see a large number of parents still driving their students to school. But right now, you know, we are happy when students come back from distant learning into on-site learning. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to review the substitute daily rate.
Okay, so in the other publications, if you've noticed, Killingly Public Schools has their daily sub rate, and so hasn't Woodstock Public Schools. And the reason for this, obviously, there is a significant shortage of substitutes in the area. And so to be competitive, I brought the conversation, a couple of board members, about having a conversation around increasing our daily while we're in this COVID crisis. I will tell you that Killingly is using their COVID funds to cover the cost of the increase to their sub rate. They received probably near $900,000 in COVID supplemental funds. We only received 248, and that money went strictly to, for the most part, to staffing. We currently, our daily subs, $100 a day. I do know that in Killingly, I believe that they are up at 150, a little higher for their retired teachers. And so Bob calculate out what the rate is and what the impact would be if we raise the daily sub rate to 125. And then of course he did it again at 150 and 175. But Bob, could you just share the overall impact with an increase of 25 and what that kind of impact would have on the budget?
Sure. Last year, and so what I did was I took last year as a baseline, started off with what we paid for subs last year for the high school, the middle school, the elementary school, special ed, and then the 3 permanent subs that we had on board. The grand total last year for sub costs was $126,200. If everybody had been paid at $125, which is what we pay our permanent subs right now, but if we paid everybody $125 a day with the same baseline, the grand total would be $145,188 for an increase of $19,000. At 150, it would cost $174,225 for an increase of over the baseline of $34,450. And at 175, just pie in the sky kind of stuff, grand total is 263. And so the increase would be 77,063. Now, what we have budgeted this year, just as a comparison, we have budgeted 152,500. So at 125, comparing it to last year, that would be budgeted 152,500, and we'd be spending 145,188. That's pretty tight, but that's just so you can get a comparison between what was budgeted and how much it would cost us at $125 a day.
Thank you, Bob. And so the discussion is, and incidentally, Killingly only has that increase until December. I think I read in the paper somewhere. So right now, we are experiencing shortages in substitutes. I will say, Danielle, all of our classrooms, we are currently covered except for one position at the middle school. Is that correct, Danielle?
Yes, that is correct, Melinda.
Thank you. So, I mean, all of our subs that we've had to place in classrooms for a variety of reasons, everything seems to be covered. It's the day-to-day substitutes that we have some concern over, and that can really impact us if a teacher has to, have a COVID test, or a teacher has to quarantine because of exposure. That will pull the teacher out of a classroom. So that's something to consider. We only have a handful, I believe, of our regular day-to-day subs. I think we have 3 or 4 people that are regularly coming in for us. So it is a dilemma. We also don't, this isn't only unique to Tom or the region. That seems to be a statewide problem as well. So the conversation or the discussion is, should we be increasing the daily sub rate while we're in this crisis, or should we leave well enough alone and see what happens? My suggestion is to at least move it to 125 during this period. Otherwise, I don't think we're going to get too many subs coming in.
So Melinda, question?
Yes.
So the recommendation is for the entire school year, right? Not just through December, like Killingly?
Yeah, I'm thinking the entire school year. I think this is going to pose to be a problem all year.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
So Melinda, is there any of that that would be funded through any kind of grants, or is this strictly on the line item of the budgets for us?
Yes, it's on the line item for the budget for us because that 248, remember, we created additional classrooms by creating smaller cohorts, and
Right.
we put staff in those positions. And we are still running over in payroll. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that another stimulus package comes through and we can cover that. Remember, we asked the state for 776,000 and we received 248. So,
Right.
you know, we're running over now, and I just want to make sure that we're also able to cover classes as people. You know, the people are going to get sick as well, but what's happening is the principals have been extremely creative in trying to cover classrooms, but there are days that it's virtually impossible.
Yep.
All right, so do I hear a motion on?
Would we be putting that on action items, Kathleen?
No, we do this, we don't have action items anymore. We vote on it as we discuss them.
Oh,
Remember, we have a different setup now, Sean.
okay.
Kathleen, one more question,
Sure.
if I may.
Well, put it on.
Melinda, when it comes
motion, we
time,
can-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if we have a motion on the floor, we can discuss.
Sorry, go ahead.
You want to
So-
make a motion?
No, I want to ask one more question first.
Okay, all right. Ask a question.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to increase to 125 a day.
okay. Do I have a second? Donna second.
I'll second it.
All right, you want to second it? Tom, Donna, whatever. Okay, Tom, you can second it. Okay, Tom, ask your question.
So Melinda, when it comes time for substitutes right now, I would imagine we had kind of a list that we used to go to, which was our go-to list.
Correct.
Is it safe to say that a fair amount of those are now off the list because they're probably going obviously to the higher paying schools, I would imagine? Or how
I'm
does
thinking that, or we've hired them to fill in some of those cohort classes.
Gotcha.
So some of that is, we took those people in and they're with us for the year covering classes. But also, I do believe that we've exhausted the pool of people that we typically go to. Even the secretaries themselves, who used to have their own little network of people, have exhausted that network. And so there aren't many other substitutes day to day. And the other thing too is, I'm glad that the people that have substituted in our district primarily substitute in Thompson, which makes it a lot easier as far as, you know, bringing in outsiders into the system. We're trying to keep our own little Thompson bubble, you know, and keep our own people in-house. So it's nice when our people are staying with us, but we also have to have classrooms covered. I was touch and go one day at the middle school where Steve and Ian really had to creatively figure out how to have supervision for students.
Okay.
Kathleen, I've got a question.
Yes.
On this subject of, you know, how do we deal with the subs? Is there a law or a regulation that we're following with the guidelines that we use with regards to qualifications to be a sub? I've always found it interesting that they you know, you need either a certificate or you need at least a degree, and that degree can be in, you know, basket weaving, but it's okay. So why don't we think about maybe loosening our regulations for, you know, a day-to-day sub? If it's that hard to find just coverage, we just, you know, want a quote unquote responsible adult in the room. I don't know,
So
maybe that would help.
The state did this year, they relaxed some of the requirements, and Danielle has all that paperwork. So they did do that to help us. But even at that, you know, folks that are leery about coming into large groups of people, you know, are certainly not jumping up and down to substitute. So
No, I just wonder
um,
if it would give us the availability of maybe some of our somewhat recently graduated high school kids that would be, possibly even in college for teaching, but they're remote learning right now, and maybe they could spend a day in the elementary or something like that. They don't have a degree yet, but, they'd be willing to come in, here and there. I just think if we're struggling that hard to find people, I'm all for moving up the rate, but if all we're doing is moving it up to the surrounding towns and people are already comfortable, I don't know. I think it's still going to be a struggle to get people.
You're not wrong there, and certainly Danielle can review the new requirements, and we can certainly recruit in that area. We did some with local colleges to get some recruitment. We certainly advertised enough to get additional people. So the general ways that we've been trying to reach folks, probably some new ideas, is what we've been doing isn't really attracting a whole lot of applicants.
All right.
Okay. Any further comments or questions for Melinda?
Yeah, just a quick question.
Yes,
What
Jody?
is Killingly's, what was their rate before they increased it?
I don't know the answer to that.
I thought it was 115.
Yeah, I
Because
thought
what-
it was pretty comparable.
Yeah, because I thought when we had looked at that before, we were all right around that same ballpark.
I think we were.
So if they drop it down after December, so in January, we'll be a little more competitive
Mhm.
if we keep it at 125.
Mhm. Okay. I'm going to do a roll call vote on this one. So I'm going to start with Linda.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Bill,
Yeah.
Jody,
Yes.
Danielle.
She's muted.
Oh, I think she said yes anyway. And Val, you're muted. Val is muted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, and
Kathleen, can I ask a question?
yes, you may.
I was muted, so I couldn't talk, but we always had two rates, one for a degreed person and one for a non-degreed person. Has that changed?
Danielle, what do we do for the non-degreed?
Non-degreed was 100.
Okay. I'm going to leave it at 100. Are we
No,
changing?
I'm just asking the question. I know we had two rates.
Yeah.
And I think they probably should be the same if we can't get people in there.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, with next meeting, we could always up it again if we needed to.
That's a good point, Bill. Let's make everybody 125. I think that's what we just voted on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good point, Bill. Okay. All right. The additional planning time. And I'm not sure we're going to vote on this at this time, but let's bring it up to the floor.
Okay, so one of the downsides of going into school full-time was that, of course, everyone knows that our teachers synchronistically teaching in the classroom, which means that they are teaching to the students that are in front of them, and then they're also live streaming instruction to the students who are distant learning. The reason that the district and the reopening committee went down that road was because we would have never been able to afford to open school full-time in Thompson unless we had that type of setup. And for the most part, teachers have adjusted to it. I'm not going to say easily because this is a lot of work. However, what we found out is that it does take additional planning time for teachers to do that type of instruction, because they have to plan for the students that are learning at home differently than they plan for, obviously, the students that are in front of them all day long. And so those districts that went in hybrid, which means 2 days a week on site and 3 days a week off site, as they are segueing into coming back to school more days, they're also keeping aside time for planning. The districts like myself, Ashford, Willington, when we all went in full time, we didn't, we went in 100%, and we didn't put any time aside for this additional planning. And honestly, it didn't really come to light until we started to look at the vast amount of work that our teachers are doing at home. And not that they mind doing work at home, but it is taking additional planning time. So my proposal would be, we sent out a survey. I talked to Kathleen. We decided to send out a survey, see what the teachers think, see what the families think. And the families responded over 400. If we had to have early release, which would be a half day, the day still counts as a full day. It still counts as a school day. That the day that they would select to have early release would be on a Friday. And then we asked parents if we had early release bi-weekly or weekly. They both responded about the same, that bi-weekly or weekly on a Friday would be best. The teachers felt Friday would be best. And the second day that everybody chose was the Wednesday, because they're used to Wednesdays being our PD days and our early release days. So as much as I would stay in school all 5 full days, we have to recognize the workload on our teachers. And I feel that giving them an early release day on a weekly would be best, would help with that extra workload that has really been challenging at best.
Now, is this something that we have to negotiate or get an MOU with the unions, or we just say, hey, everybody take an early release day? It's just something that the board has to approve.
Yes, and obviously the structure of the school day, that's part of that whole COVID policy that the board's going to work on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be times that we close school or alter the school schedule, and it's based on community spread. This really wasn't about a health risk. This is more about planning.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I've got a thought.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the idea of it being on a Friday. There seems to be an attendance problem when it's on a Friday. And that's one of the reasons why we switched to the half days on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
And to me, if we were to do it, I think we should do it on Wednesdays, not on Fridays, even though that's what they're saying they would prefer. It doesn't work. And especially if it ends up being you need to get substitutes in, where are we going to get them from? And then, the students, they figure, hey, long weekend, half day, we won't have them either.
Okay.
So I even though, everyone's saying Friday, I think if we did it every week, I think we should stick with Wednesdays.
I agree with Linda 100%.
Okay.
I do as well.
Excuse me. Kathleen, can I speak?
Yes.
Melinda, were you suggesting that this change in the schedule would be, if we approved something tonight, would be for the remainder of the year?
Well, that's up to the board. It depends. If we flip to remote, I'm going to say that that's not on the table.
So the reason I asked that question is, what if we were to maybe put a motion to say we're going to try. I mean, my thing is, if you get a big response from the parents, this is a difficult year at best for parents. If they're really pushing, I'm all for Wednesday. I've said it. I think for the same reasons Bill and Linda said it. We know there were attendance problems, but if the parents overwhelmingly wanted Fridays, it's something where this is the year where I would tend to yield to the parents, but I would kind of hedge my bet and say, what if we were to approve it until the end of the calendar year? And if it turns out that people are taking advantage of it, then we change the calendar for the rest of the year to Wednesdays. And sorry, you had your chance, That's just kind of how I feel this year. I think it's a little different. I was certainly one in favor of the Wednesdays for that reason, but I don't know. That's my 2 cents tonight.
And just to add a little more information, our teachers would be required to remain on school site in the afternoon to do their planning, obviously. It's not like a PD day like we had in August and all of it was virtual. Had the option of working from home. In this case, we would expect that our teachers would remain on site to do the planning with their colleagues.
I like Sean's idea. That seems to be a compromise. I like that. We'll see how it works, and we can always come back and say, hey, we're experiencing too much absenteeism, and we have to change it back to Wednesdays and see what happens there.
So does this require a vote, or is this just move forward?
Yeah, the board would have to approve that half day. Yes, we would, because that's a change to our calendar.
But we still meet all the requirements on the days and the hours and whatever else is required, right?
Yes, correct.
Well, considering that we're going to be in really 4.5 days compared to what other districts, I think we'll be fine.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any other comments from board members? Val, you want to make a comment? Could you unmute the board members, please, Danielle? Some of them are muted. Val's muted, Danielle is muted.
I'm clicking on Val to unmute, but it's not switching.
Val, have you muted yourself? See if you can unmute yourself, Val.
Oh, hi, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it looks like you're muted.
I have to call the animal control officer on our chairman.
Okay, Val just disappeared. I think she's having technical issues here.
Okay.
Yeah.
She'll be back. Oh, there you are. She's back. Can you unmute yourself, Val?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just had a question for Melinda. Do you
Yep.
think that this change would take place? When would it start?
Well, we have to give parents some leeway, so I'd certainly want to give them a week or so, or a week or two, so that they can arrange childcare, because that's an issue, especially for the younger students. So by the end of the month.
So we're not talking a whole lot of Fridays left, right, to the end of the year?
So the month of November and December. Yeah.
Right.
And Melinda, you already have a baseline on absenteeism, right, for comparison?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is true going back to start our P, remember? And we started to put them on Wednesday and our faculty meetings on Wednesday. A problem then. I haven't been, I mean, our teachers have been really good about coming to work this year. So I haven't really been tracking Fridays per se for this year. You know, I tell you with good data for this current year how Fridays are running. I could look it up. But I honestly think attendance overall has been really good this year with our faculty and staff.
Yeah, and I think they need the planning, so.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is they really need it and they deserve it. They're really all working really hard.
Agreed, agreed. Sandy Cox just put in the chat box that there'll be 6 Fridays in November and December because of holidays. So that gives us enough to base when we come back in January to revisit this and make a decision.
So do we have to make a motion on,
Yes, we would if we're going to implement this to change the calendar.
Well, I'll make a motion that we change the calendar to the half days that needed.
Okay.
but does it have to be clarified to a Wednesday or a Friday, or what do we do? Do we leave that up? I mean,
No, we would make the motion would you amend your motion to say that it's Fridays through the end of the year and then we'll revisit it, please, Bill?
Okay, my motion is that we do the half days on Fridays, beginning when the superintendent is ready to start through the end of the year.
Okay.
Calendar year, right, Bill?
Yes.
Correct, calendar year. Just through. Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Who got that one?
Whomever.
Okay.
That to Donna.
Okay. Donna's got it. Okay. This one I'm not going to, this one is okay.
what happened to the, is there a discussion on this one, or?
You
we
want a
all done?
discussion? Yes.
Well, I guess I'm confused because I thought I heard that we were gonna do Wednesdays. Maybe I missed how it got switched back to Fridays, and I apologize.
Okay, we're going to do Fridays to see till the end of the year because the parents and the teachers all voted in our survey to do Fridays. So we're going to do Fridays till the end of this calendar year, giving them a chance. But if we see that there's excess absenteeism at the end of the year, we're revisiting it. It's a compromise. And if we see that there's excess absenteeism, then we are going to switch back to Wednesdays, using the excuse that we have to switch back to Wednesdays because there's excess absenteeism. We can't just ignore their wishes. We put out a survey and asked them whether they preferred Wednesdays or Fridays. They came back to said we prefer Fridays. So we can't ignore the survey.
Okay. No, that's fine.
And it might be easier on childcare for some families. That's the only.
That was my thought. Fridays is probably an easier day to get grandma or grandpa to come and take care of the kids for the afternoon for a working parent. Or it's easier to take a Friday afternoon off than a Wednesday afternoon. I don't know. That was my thought when I suggested the Fridays.
Okay.
Not thinking of absenteeism because I always went to work. Okay, from Julie Maliff wants to know what happens to the scheduled half days that are currently in place.
Those are still
They're going to stay. Okay. So we're just amending the calendar to put in, now we're going to do them weekly or bi-weekly? Just
Weekly.
for now, right? Weekly. Okay.
And just one other thing, Melinda, this has nothing to do, or are we in any violation with our contract with busing, or how does that work? We just
No,
let them,
because the runs are the runs are the same. We have to bring kids in and we got to take them home. So it's
okay,
the only impact it's going to have is PM preschool. And usually preschool teachers can flip-flop and have the afternoon kids come in the morning on Fridays, or we can eliminate preschool altogether. But I think just doing that flip-flop for, so it's equitable, so that the afternoon kids don't miss 6 afternoons, right? So they've done that before. So we'll talk to the preschool teachers about that and see if that would work.
okay.
All right. So having that, we're ready to take a vote on adding for November and December. We'll revisit in January, half days for additional planning time for the teachers on Friday afternoons. All in favor of these half days, say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. And the vote is unanimous then.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Danielle.
Which Danielle?
Val's saying every time she tries to unmute, it's saying the host has to unmute her.
She's unmuted
She's
right
on
now.
now. She's on now.
Okay, she just texted me that, so I don't know.
Okay. All right. Melinda, you want to discuss the Alliance construction grant?
I sure do. Times it's a godsend to be an Alliance district. And in this case, not that I want the district to be one of the 33 underperforming school districts, but in this case, Alliance were given a chance to apply for a construction grant that we can apply for is $477,000. This is a reimbursable grant. This is an upfront check to work on very specified projects that are allowable under this particular grant. So our friend, Bill Birch, and he and I always have this wish list of what we would like to have repaired. And I'm going to let him go over the 3 things that would like to spend the money. Need your approval. That's part of the grant application process. We need you to approve that we would accept those funds, and also the 3 projects that Bill's going to review with you now. So Bill, can I turn it over to you?
Sure.
Okay.
So we're looking at so these funds are actually coming through the Department of Administration, which is where we get our school construction grant funds from. And they are earmarked for repair and maintenance projects that are not normally covered under school construction grants. So the state has very specific guidelines that they will only pay for something once. And if they've paid for it the first time, they're not going to pay for it again. That becomes the responsibility of the town for upkeep and maintenance. This is the second time that Department of Administration has put these funds forward to Alliance districts to do repair and maintenance projects. So we are looking specifically at 3 projects. One is to replace the entire telephone and intercom system throughout the district. When it was put in 2006, it was, I don't want to say at the end of its life, but it was shortly thereafter that it was no longer supported. It's gotten older now. We have problems with it. It's beyond capacity. The intercom system does not have the level of programmability that we'd like to see. We don't have external speakers. We don't have any kind of communication up to the athletic complex. So we're looking at that, and that may be the biggest chunk of funding. The second project was, as you may recall, we looked for a new dust collection system for the high school last year because we did all these renovations in the high school shop area, metal shop, the wood shop. There's the after-school program for building the boats. We looked at a new dust collecting system there. That was ultimately cut from the budget. We looked at replacing the flooring in the corridors of the older part of the high school last year, which was also cut from the budget. Those are the three main projects that we're looking at. I've got two of the three numbers as of today. I expect to have the last one on the phone system by the end of the day tomorrow. And sort of as a contingency, we may be able to squeeze out enough funds to do those renovations in the locker rooms that we had also talked about last year that were cut from the budget. So if we could pull it off, that would be the fourth project that would go so that we can get all $477,000 that they're offering to us.
Because I would have to run it through that computer.
Okay.
That's the one that was,
Thank you.
was all messed up.
That would be wonderful. So we have to approve this tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then, the numbers will add up to $447,000. And if you can squeak in the locker room, you will squeak that in. So it adds to 447, correct, Bill?
That number is 477, Kathleen.
477, okay, thank you. Sorry, $477,000. That's what we've been allotted, if approved.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the maximum that we can get.
Okay, then we're gonna go for the max, right?
Yeah.
Well, why would we go for anything less? Okay. All right, so first we have to approve accepting the funds, and secondly, we have to approve the projects?
Yeah.
Okay,
The whole thing.
the whole thing, okay. So can I have a motion to approve preparing a grant? We have to prepare a request for the funds to have the replacement of the telephone system, the dust collector system in the high school, the flooring in the high school, and if possible, the locker room. Who will make that motion for me, please? So to add up to 477,000.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, David.
I'll second it, Linda.
Okay, thank you. I'll do well, who's going to say no to this? I don't know, but all right. All in favor of accepting the funds from the state to replace the telephone system, the dust collection system in the high school, the flooring in the high school, and the locker room that adds from the state for $477,000, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? It passes unanimously.
Kathleen, can I ask Bill a question?
Sure.
Bill, if you get less than the 477, the list of the projects, is that your priority list?
So we put the grant through to the state, and those would be the approved projects. So if it came in at less, if the numbers finally come in and it's less than the 477, we have to give them the change back, so to speak.
That's the best way to do it.
No, but I think what Jody's saying is, what if they approved less than the 477?
300,000.
Yeah,
No, so
that's how it works.
in the
It-
grant
it-
application, you were either, I think, zone 1 or 2 or 3, and then you got an application according to whatever group you fell in, and Thompson fell in group 3. So getting a lot more money. We're in the lowest of the groups, but the total amount is 477.
Okay.
So they will, if we put forward approvable projects totaling 477, that's what they are committed to giving us.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, so I guess I go to Deb Spinelli for the next couple of ones. The gymnastic update.
You do.
Yep. Can we unmute Deb?
I'm on mute.
Okay.
We have 2 gymnasts in our building that for the last couple of years have been on Killingly's team. We've been in a co-op with Killingly and Putnam.
Mm-hmm.
Killingly now has enough of their own athletes, so we are no longer a part of that. So we are going to register as a team of 1 of 2.
2. Mm-hmm.
So it's 2 kids, but we're called a team of 1. So I have to have you make sure you're aware of that and approval, and then I'll go through with Deary's Gym to see which other school we're going to jump on with. We've done it in the past. Doesn't cost us really anything. It's really letting them use, they're really participating under our school name. Before, they were doing it under the co-op Killingly, Thompson, Putnam. Now they'll just be Thompson, and they don't have enough, we don't have enough kids for a full team. You need 4 to score. So they'll be just doing for individual scores.
Okay. So we need,
Question.
yes.
Deb, what does a team of, 2 gymnasts, a team of 1 mean?
Team of 1 means we don't have enough kids on our own to have an actual team, but to allow the kids to participate, they can go to the gym and participate in the meet. And what they usually do is they pair us up. We'd usually follow, like, could be one time when we did it, our kids were following Woodstock Academy's schedule. So wherever they went to participate, our kids went with them, and they were rotated into the competitions as Turlock kids going to the vault, bars, the free Florex, but they follow that schedule. So we have our own 2 kids participating to get their own individual performances to see if they qualify for states. And Kira O'Brien was an all-stater. She's a really great gymnast. And the other kid is Taylor Vandy. So to give those kids the opportunity, otherwise they're not going to be able to participate this winter. And that's of course if gymnastic does follow through with all the COVID issues. Right now, it's on the table to participate, and they have been competing because most of the gyms have come up with different formats to allow that to happen. So with your okay, then I'll contact Casey Fillmore at Deary's Gym and make sure that we're on board. But I didn't do that yet until I find out if you guys are in favor of it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so then I guess we need a motion to go ahead with having Thompson participate as a team of 1 for 2 children, for 2 girls or boys.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'd like to make that motion, Kathleen.
I'll
Okay,
second.
all right. I'll put that to the, any discussion on that? Hearing none, then I'll put that to the vote. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Then you can, Deb, you can go ahead and reach out to whomever you need to. Okay, middle school winter sports update, Deb?
Well, we had a QVJC meeting last Friday, and all the member schools were on a Zoom meeting. A lot of the schools are still up in the air as to what they're doing because everybody's worried about how their districts are going to be impacted by the virus. So everybody's charge is to go back to their superintendents and principals and come back by November 9th with the decision if they're going to allow their kids to participate or not. And then With that being said, depending on how many people have a yay or nay, we'll develop a schedule that won't take place until January. We figure it probably wouldn't start until the middle of probably January 6th, and just run through the month of January, having a very modified program just to give the kids some contact where they're actually having some interscholastic competition. And it would be varsity and JV, and it would be home and away. That's tentative. As far as spectators, we haven't talked about that yet. We're just waiting to see what guidelines on the high school level are going to come down with.
All right.
And that's for basketball primarily, right, Deb?
Basketball. And we also have cheerleading too.
I
If
know
we do
many.
cheerleading, that's considered a high-risk sport right now. So there would be no stunting at all. That would have to be just cheering. They'd have to have masks on. We'd have to have set our own parameters up for them to participate if we so decide to do that. But I guess I'm looking for both. Because the thing is, I have to get them registered because physicals are November 19th. So one way or the other, I got to get them registered so I know what our numbers are going to be. And then if we do in fact have a schedule, then the kids will all be ready to go.
Basketball and cheerleading, aren't they under the moderate risk like soccer?
Right now, well, competitive cheerleading is not. That's considered high risk.
Okay.
But like right now for the fall, for the ECC, some schools are letting their cheerleaders cheer, but they're only cheering. They're 6 feet apart. They're on the sideline. There are no practices. There's no stunting. So they've come up with a modified version of that. And that's basically what we would be doing here. So their practices in the gym, the exercise room down in the middle school they wouldn't be doing any stunting. They'd be basically going over their cheers and how they, do their clapping and whatever they're doing. There wouldn't be any stunting though. And that may impact the number of kids because most of those girls want to actually be involved in the stunting process. So,
So Deb, do you move forward as if, you pretty much have to have the physicals done
yeah.
and whatever scheduling you can do because, without the physicals, we can't do anything, right?
Correct. We're already locked in. We lock our physical dates in the summertime, late spring for the next year. And let's see, if that's the 17th, don't forget, we've got the following week after physicals, we're already at Thanksgiving, so we have a break. So we come back after Thanksgiving, and we'd probably be like the first or second week of December having tryouts to decide who the kids are. Then you got to have a little bit of practice before you go out on vacation to come back to play on January 6th.
Don't you still have to have 12 or 10 practices in before you can compete anyways?
Yep, basically.
Yeah, so we're right down to the deadline no matter what.
It'll be especially true for middle school because in middle school, if they do a fall sport, then a kid is really exempt from the 10 days because they've already had their practice in their full season, so they already have condition. It's basically for conditioning. It's for those kids who haven't done anything. But this fall, we have kids that in middle school have done nothing as far as interscholastic sports because we haven't had it. So every single kid will be in their 10-day, the 10-day sequence that they have to have. High school, just so you know, high school is going forward. CIAC said they're supporting basketball for the high school. So we're on our way to probably going to be, it's going to be geographical teams. As a matter of fact, Tom, you'll be so happy. It looks very similar to the QVC.
Oh, fantastic.
The schools will be playing are the ones up in the north. The way it stands right now, and it's going to be a truncated version. It won't be a full schedule, but that's what it looks like right now. Like I said, nothing's finalized. Everything's in the air. We just deleted our entire schedule that we had posted that was made up last winter for this particular basketball season. We were told to delete all games because a new schedule's coming out and they're regionalizing again, like they did for the fall.
And is that going to be 50% capacity, or there's no, or is it just
We
parents?
haven't heard that yet. I've heard different rumors. I've heard rumors where there would be no spectators, just 20 kids traveling, that the only people in the building would be the teams and the officials and the people running the scoreboard and the athletic director. Then I've heard some people just let maybe home spectators in for the parents, like we're doing for soccer. Only our home soccer parents are coming to our games. So I don't know how it's going to play out. It'll be a league decision.
Is this something that we could, if it comes down to it, Deb, at least for the students and their parents and whoever else, I mean, is there a way that we can broadcast our games via Zoom?
We could try. They're out of the 18, 19 schools. I think there's 11 of them now that have the capability. They had they've got the cameras, the end zone cameras. We tried to do that last year. We were in that whole loop to do that, but with the budget cut and everything, we couldn't. The cost of it was $2,500 just to buy the camera, and that was a deal. And then we had to pay to have it put in. And I was going to have a handheld one for the soccer games, but because of the cost and the way our budget got cut, we're out of that loop for this year. But 11 schools put that in. So if we're playing a school that's away that has that camera, they can go on the National Federation site and see the streaming of the games. They can do that now for soccer.
The reason why I ask is there's been some discussion among some of our alumni on kind of something that we can do for student athletes. And let me talk to the group that we've been talking about, because part of it, I think when you were looking at the scoreboard, we were looking to possibly fund the scoreboard, but now that that's probably not going to happen this year, maybe we can redirect some of the funds that the alumni wanted to do.
Okay.
All right, so let me have that discussion.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Danielle, could you unmute Jody? Jody's unmuted.
I'm all set now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right. All right, so we have to vote on this.
Well, Kathleen, I'm just wondering if you're going to let us like proceed, especially with the middle school winter sports, as things start to unfold. Obviously, you know, you can call an emergency meeting if you want to vote, but right now we don't really know which way it's going to go.
Okay, yeah, let's wait till things unfold a little bit. Do we need to do anything right now, Deb?
Just got an email from Jim Reeves in basketball at Killingly. He says, hey, Deb, Killingly Intermediate is in for varsity and JV. So Killingly's going forward with theirs. I think most people are going to say, yes, we're going to go. Yes, put something together. And then if things fall apart, obviously we won't play. So I think everybody's just trying to make a decision to get started, because everybody knows what the timeline is to get everybody. It's not like, okay, we're going to play. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the background before that even occurs.
So at least we can play Killingly. I don't know how, can we play them every week?
Sure. They're one of our teams.
Perfect.
Kathleen, in the fall, I thought all we did was vote to basically hold off on fall sports. I'm not sure if we would even need to vote for anything to, quote, go forward. We would have to vote if we didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I think we just let Deb just go ahead and do what you need to do, and let's let the thing play out.
We were just going to revisit at every season. That's what you said.
Right.
So we were going to go.
Yeah, just keep us surprised of what's happening here.
Okay. So as of right now, we're a yes, varsity, JV, girls and boys, and is that cheerleading too?
Yes, just keep us surprised of what's happening.
Good.
Deb, are you coaching cheerleading, or are you still looking for a coach?
I'm looking for you, Tom. You can do it.
I don't have strong knees to jump anymore, so I'm out.
Oh, okay.
All right, who's going to take recreation basketball? What's happening with that?
I'm going to start, and then I know Leslie Munschauer is on. She's in the on the participant, so I'm going to ask that Leslie get unmuted, Danielle. But in the meantime, first of all, I want to say that the rec department has been tremendous in providing childcare for our families before and after school. Also helping out our teachers when they had some childcare issues. Leslie actually working with some distant learning students of our teachers. That program has closed now due to kids going back to their own districts, but the rec department has been phenomenal. And I need to let the board know that I don't think that our people realize the impact that they've had for our families and for our teaching staff. So I want to thank Leslie and her team for helping us out. She also came and made a proposal around rec basketball. And Leslie, if you're unmuted, would you please present to the board your proposal for the upcoming winter season?
Yeah, sure, of course. So it's good to hear from Deb sort of that things are moving forward with the middle school sports. So I did send a proposal to Melinda and Deb with a modified rec basketball schedule based on the guidelines that we follow for youth sports and looking at basically clinics only. So no games on Saturday mornings where parents would gather, but in order to give students some athletic opportunities, to some team building opportunities, to do clinics Monday through Thursday in the elementary school for grades 1 through 4. It would be about 45-minute to an hour-long clinics, and our guidelines say 10 students maximum in those small groups, similar to what they were doing this summer in those summer clinics that were happening prior to school starting. Of course, masks are required for the staff and for the students when they're not actively participating. So I know that a lot of the gym space is being used for storage and whatnot. So again, I think keeping those groups small for the gym space, but also for the cohorting as well. So we would be looking at doing a 6-week session and having grades 1 and 2 practice together, and then grades 3 and 4 practice together, and starting there and seeing how it goes, and potentially adding other grades if more gym space is available as well. So.
And we're going to start out with the elementary gym because the other 2 gyms are, first of all, hold storage, and secondly, we're going to have limited space due to the capacity in both of those other gyms.
So it's a extremely modified program. As those of you familiar, we typically have, probably close to 125 to 150 students who participate in the basketball program, and it's 8 weeks. So we would most likely be doing a raffle, system in order to just be fair, because it would be so limited, only allowing 40 students to participate in the first round. If it goes well, we would look at potentially doing a second round of 6 weeks and doing 2 practices in one night, but we'd have to allow for time to clean between the groups, equipment and buildings as well. Any questions?
I've got a question that's related to the discussion, but not rec basketball. What is being stored in our gyms?
Furniture.
Furniture. Yeah,
furniture. Because we had to create socially distant spaces and we had to remove any unnecessary furniture. This was part of our reopening plan, out of classrooms to create that expanded space. So all of that stuff went into gyms.
Oh, okay, hang on. Just on a personal note, that's not exactly accurate. But if it's possible, could I get the couch from my wife's room out of my garage and put it in the gym?
Your house is part of the gymnasium, Sean.
Seriously?
So we're not accepting any more upholstered furniture back into the district. We removed all of that furniture, and even when COVID is over, we're not going to accept those things back because technically they don't meet fire code. So
you just
so
get
the couch. Is that what
you're keeping the couch, Sean?
Oh, no, I'll be at the transfer station this weekend.
What time? I'll be there.
All right. So do we need to vote on anything here, or is this just this is just standard practice? And thank you for telling us about this recreation program, because we've
Right.
done this for years. So there's no voting here. It's just.
Correct.
Thank
We
you.
just wanted you to be aware of it, Kathleen,
Right.
and let the board
Okay.
be
And
aware.
thank you for your help in
Absolutely.
the before and after school, and for the children's program that you've been running. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Okay, now we're going on to the technology partnership.
So back when Ken Beausoleil actually was first selectman, we started to have a conversation around creating efficiencies between town departments and the district departments. And then nothing really happened after that, but Amy is trying to revive, Amy St. Ange, those kind of efficiencies and partnerships. And one of the areas that we know that we could collaborate on is technology. And so we did have Tracy help out the selectman's office so that they could have an in-person meeting, and then also live stream to the community their meetings. And so that's been set up, and they've actually ran their last meeting, I do believe, out of our auditorium because we had the equipment set up. However, there are some efficiencies around the entire technology program at the town in partnership with our technology department. I know Tracy a couple of years ago went down and assessed some of the equipment that the town has, and obviously they're in dire need of replacing equipment. And because we've transitioned over to a one-to-one initiative with our students, we have equipment in our possession that might help the town. And so we're trying to develop a partnership between the town and the school department where we help them, and then if it increases some of our interns' hours, that the town would compensate the district for that additional time. And so we've been in the infancy stages right now of working with but we feel like having that type of a partnership, especially if the town can benefit from some of our expertise and some of the surplus equipment that we may have that benefit the town, we think it's a win-win for both sides, and it's also good for the community. So we wanted to bring the partnership idea to the attention of the Board of Ed so that you would understand why we're sending some of our staff down to town hall in case they have need. And Amy has also offered to, was there a way that we could expand some of our own people's hours so that we could accommodate some of their needs? And we do have 2 good interns this year, and we feel like we would be able to do that. And as long as those folks are compensated from the town, we see a good partnership, and eventually it might evolve into one technology department overseeing both entities. So we wanted to bring that to the attention of the board in case you heard that some of our personnel is down at town hall.
Thank you.
I'm sure the Board of Finance remembers that when it comes budget time too.
Well,
That's a good one.
well, that's part of my write-up. Joining the budget together, because we are looking for these partnerships and cost efficiencies as one town helping each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's the right thing to do, but I mean, we're all in this thing together. So
Yes.
hopefully the Board of Finance understands we're all in it together.
Oh, Tom, I mean, that was part of my little spiel earlier. If you remember, going back now, we're talking about the insurance that we, partnered with them, and, always, and we're certainly more than glad to help the rec and help after school and all this other stuff. But it is the definition of a one-way street for the time that I've been on the board. I can't remember a time where the town has turned around and come to us with open arms. At the same time they were asking us to help with, let's not forget, they were holding our readiness money.
Yep.
It's a pattern, and it's got to stop at some point.
Yep.
We've been talking about putting these budgets back together. I've been talking about it when I was chairman for
Yes.
5 years. And for this committee to propose what they're doing is just wrong because they're not listening. They're not listening to our side of the story. It's wrong what they're doing. All it's going to do is pit one side against the other.
Exactly.
Already does.
Yep.
Yes, I agree, Bill. Okay, we got to move along now. The COVID policy, we need to look at that tonight and possibly, hopefully, pass that tonight. So, where is that? It's got,
It's part of the main packet, Kathleen.
yeah, I've got it. I've got it.
Yeah.
Now part of our second read and also, okay. Okay, so we have the operations of school during COVID-19 pandemic. We don't need to change, do we need to change this for that half day? Or no, we just need to change our calendar, right?
Right.
Okay. So this can stand as it is now. We've gone and we've made some changes to it, and I think it fairly represents the operations of this, of how we're operating the school under today, under COVID. So if I can entertain a motion to accept this, have a second, and then we can discuss if we need to. So do I have a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to accept the COVID policy.
Thank you. Donna, yes, Donna's seconding you, but she's muted again.
I muted myself, Kathleen. Sorry, when I talk, I cough. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's
Thank
okay.
you.
Yeah, I hope you get better soon. Okay, so now there's a motion on the floor to accept this policy. Do I have any discussion? I know we've discussed this at length, but is there any final discussion on this policy?
I have a few minor things that I think should be corrected.
All right, Linda, go ahead.
Page 8, last line under student transportation. It says hand sanitizer will available. Put in the word be, so hand sanitizer will be available.
Okay.
And then on page 12, under response to COVID-19 incident, last paragraph, 5 lines up from the bottom of the page. Six staff members and children should not to return. It should take out the word to. It should just read should not return.
Okay.
And on page 14, under employee offsite meetings and travel, 3 lines up from the bottom of the page. It says, a copy of such disclosure form is attached as Exhibit A to this policy. If you go to page 17, it says it's Appendix A.
Okay.
So I think that should be changed to Appendix A, or change the Appendix A to Exhibit A, as long as they both say the same thing.
Exactly. Okay.
And I still have a problem with, on page 10, under notices and communication, that word comorbidity. I mean, it
It's
just
supposed
seems,
to come out.
well, it's still there.
No, we said we.
I still think there should either be a little asterisk on the bottom saying what that word means, or parentheses saying what that word means.
That's what we agreed, I thought.
That's what I thought too, but I don't see
Okay,
it.
let's, comorbidity, let's put an asterisk, and at the bottom, just put a little definition of what it means. It means 2 existing diseases.
Bella, stop it. Bella.
So if we make those changes, Okay. All right, so now I'm going to call for the vote.
Kathleen, I have one question.
Okay.
This
Sorry.
is the policy for, COVID pandemic. Is there an end date?
Well, yes, when the
Or is the
pandemic,
end
yeah,
date where the governor says it's an end date?
correct. When there is no more, when we're not operating in pandemic mode, this policy ceases to exist.
And that mode ends when the governor says it
As
does.
it ends.
And when the
Correct.
CDC tells
Well,
us it.
the one, no, we operate under the
Oh,
Department of Health, not the
Right.
CDC. We
Thank you, sorry,
operate,
you're all right.
yeah, we operate it under the Department of Health,
Mhm.
the Connecticut Northeast Department of Health.
Kathleen, does this agreement stay in place then until February 9th when his executive orders expire?
No, it goes beyond, it goes beyond that. It's, we're still under the guidance of the State Department of Ed to implement all of these reopening regulations. So until those relax, I would imagine this would remain in effect.
Okay, all right.
Well, in conjunction with the Northeast Department of Health, too.
Well, that's part of why I asked this question, to bring up the subject. In the 3 minutes since I asked it, we're being run by a health department, the Department of Ed, the CDC, the governor.
No, we kicked out the CDC, Sean. We got
Okay.
two governing bodies, the Department of Education and the Department of Health.
Northeast or state?
Northeast.
Northeast. Northeast Department of Health and the Department of Education, which is, sort of run by the governor. There's all these governing bodies, and if the federal government came in and said, you got to do this, we've got to do that too. There's multiple governing bodies here. And this remains in effect until they say, hey, you're clear of the pandemic, and now all these restrictions have been lifted. It's the
Right,
same-
but my
it's the
question
same as
still,
the mandates that we have to follow. Some of the mandates come from the state, some come from the federal government. It isn't one thing. It's many agencies that are telling us what to do.
so my question
How to
then,
educate the kids.
so, right, but, okay, I get that. It's part of the bigger picture problem is a lot of, chiefs, not enough Indians. Is who are we listening to when it comes to when we can loosen any restrictions? It doesn't, okay, thank you, Belinda. Who would we listen to ultimately?
I would be listening to the commissioner because it's the commissioner and the plan that came out of the commissioner's office that we are abiding by.
Okay, so the Commissioner of Education ultimately says when the state of Connecticut can start to loosen restrictions.
When school departments can start.
Well, no, that's what I meant. Schools in the state of Connecticut will be listening to the commissioner. Okay.
Now, I don't know who he listens to. That's a conversation.
That's fine. I don't care who he listens to because we have to listen to him. But there's a lot of hands in this. We had that discussion the other day, and whether we're listening to the state mandates or whether we're listening to the CDC or whether we're listening to the governor, seems to be a lot of question marks. So I just wanted to know who we're listening to.
Okay.
Well, that's who I have to listen to. So I imagine that's where the guidance from the reopening came from. Kathleen's not wrong. That was developed with a lot of people's hands, the governor's office, the Department of Health, the local departments of health. So there was a lot of hands putting that plan together. But ultimately, that's where it came from. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so hopefully having settled that, can we take a vote on this? Okay, okay, all in favor of operating under this COVID policy until it is so lifted or the pandemic has passed, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay or no. Hearing no, or any abstentions? None, hearing none. Policy passes. We will operate under this policy. Moving on to administration reports. I urge you, please, let's make these short tonight, please. So I'll start with Ms. Perret. She's muted.
That was a short one. Next.
Yeah. Hey, great, loved it.
I would just like to say that, again, thank you very much to Mrs. Smith for her clarity in her leadership. Regardless of all the entities that we have to listen to, she really is able to disseminate the right information to us, and she is leading our ship in the right direction. I'd like to applaud Zainab Azoun as her first appointment to the liaison to the Board of Education, and the dedication that she expressed, that our students are looking to say, hey, during a snow day, can't we distance learn? So very excited about that. I'm going to keep it short, so I'm going to take 5 down to 3. All right. Alumni Career Day. You mentioned, Tom, that we are looking at different things that we can do to continue to implement all of our traditional experiences in new ways. We're looking to have an incredible Alumni Career Day, regardless whether we're distance learning or we're on site or we're zooming in. So we're really looking to continue to move things forward. And lastly, if you haven't been clawed, check out Facebook. We've got a great senior fundraiser going on right now. Really excited. Beth Hennick's got some great stuff happening. Keep an eye out for those Tigers.
Okay, thank you. I got clawed.
Good.
Okay. Mr. Knowlton.
He's muted.
Next.
How's that?
Okay.
All right. To move things along quickly here, just to let you know, if you did not know already, on September 29th, we had our open house via Zoom. We had our teacher teams scheduled at various times between 5 and 8 to have open house sessions with parents. It went fairly well. Many of the meetings were well attended, and our plans for parent-teacher conferences in November on the 4th and the 5th, we're going to probably use a similar format and hope for a good turnout there as well. Just to reiterate the sort of trends in distance learners coming back. When we started distance learning, we had 90 students on September 8th. At the writing of this report last week, we had only 73, and we're having about 4 to 5 kids a week come back. And I would imagine by the end of this week, we'll be down to about a third of our kids having already come back to live teaching in school. So that trend, again, just sort of reiterates what the superintendent was saying. Trying to kind of get some normalcy back to the middle school with some of our activities. You may recall that normally our Junior National Honor Society induction ceremony is usually the first week of June. It was postponed last year because of COVID. And working with Laura Stefanski, our advisor for National Junior Honor Society, we're in the process right now of planning a Zoom ceremony for the induction of our current 8th graders into the Honor Society. And we're hoping that that will take place at the end of October. More details will follow once we solidify that. And again, trying to get some normalcy, we reinstituted some of our PBIS activities, such as Student of the Month. For the month of September, we had 11 students in grade 5 through 8 that were nominated by teachers and recognized with a certificate and a gift package, and their pictures are posted in our hallway outside of the cafeteria on our Student of the Month bulletin board. And we have a new activity or contest that's going to culminate at the end of this month called the Tiger Paw Pride Sweatshirt Challenge. And that's due to the generosity of It Starts at Home project. Thompson Middle School has received dozens of hooded sweatshirts. At the end of the month, 1 student per homeroom will be rewarded with a sweatshirt for demonstrating behavior related to the following criteria: positive attitude, act responsible, and wise choices with respect to things like regular school attendance, adherence to expectations for social distancing, mask wearing, and overall cooperative and positive attitude while they're in school. And that's what's going on at the middle school.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Larry.
Good evening. The elementary school also had their open house. That was held on September 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. That was held virtually as well. It was well attended. Great job to the teachers that set that up. Last week was National Fire Prevention Week from October 4th to October 10th. Although we were unable to hold the festivities that we've done in the past, Rocky will be trying to provide students with fireman's hats. So thank you to Rocky and the fire station. Students have been doing a great job adhering to the mask wearing and the mask wearing policies and the hand washing. Teachers have been doing a great job working with those students. The Mary R. Fisher Elementary School PTO met this evening. They are holding a pie cookie fundraiser from October 9th through October 23rd. Due to COVID-19 issues, ordering will be online and pickup will be a drive-through, and that pickup will be on November 14th. So if you're interested in ordering some pies or cookies from the Mary R. Fisher Elementary School PTO, it'll be from the 9th to the 23rd. Technology department continues to work hard ensuring that all staff have what they need for equipment and providing any extra help when needed. Congratulations to Lauren Howard on the birth of her son, Declan Wesley Howard. Congratulations to Lauren and her family. And then finally, I'm absolutely thrilled. I'll echo the comments of Bill Witkowski today and the rest of the board. Great job providing additional planning time to the teachers. I mean, unless you're in the classroom, you don't have a deep appreciation for how hard these individuals work. And balancing the work that it takes to plan for students on site and working with students at home is a Herculean effort. They're doing a wonderful job. They're hitting their stride, but they do need extra planning time, and boy, they're knocking it out of the park. So congrats to the board and Mrs. Smith for providing that additional planning time.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Okay, now I'm going to go to Bob. We've heard from Deb already, and so I'm going to go to Bob right now.
Hey, everybody. You should have all the reports, including the cafeteria status, which is still running in the black, amazingly enough, with the amount of free breakfasts and lunches going out every day. The state is just a little bit slow with the reimbursements, but also included in your packet are the spending year to date by object code, by department, and by detail. And also I put a separate page in for COVID expenditures so far year to date. The difficult part about those is that the things that are salaried, particularly with the hourly salaried that are COVID related with some of the custodians, for example, and the tech workers, we don't know how that's going to shake out, particularly with if we have to do more cleaning, etc. So what I wanted to do too was and I'll make this real quick, is I wanted to compare last year to this year where we were as far as status. Last year's year-to-date spending was 14.81% of the budget. This year's year-to-date spending at 9/30 was 16.58% of the budget. So the big expenditures are in health, district-wide, and tech. But a large portion of those are COVID-related and eligible for some of the additional grants that we might get. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Okay. Bill, you have any, going to go back to Bill. Bill, do you have any, you have a report here, anything else? I know we had some
I'll
emergency.
make this as quick as I can. We already talked about the Alliance grant, so we don't
Yep.
have to go over that again.
Mhm.
The oil tank project, we're right at the very end. We're just tying up the loose ends.
Okay,
The roofing project, as everybody knows, is out to bid. The bids are due on Monday. They'll be opened by the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday.
okay,
And then they'll go back to the building committee. Let's see what else, like everybody else, we are kind of struggling with labor issues. We're trying to keep every position filled every day.
mhm.
And I'm pretty sure that's about it.
Okay, the Turtle Rock.
Security gate. Bill, you want to mention the security gates because people had questions?
Oh, I'm sorry, I completely forgot that. The security grant, we actually did some more work on that. We're soliciting new quotes on the hardware for the gates. I did put together a reimbursement package to go to the state today, which we should be getting about $121,000 back to the town from that. And we should have this project wrapped up by the end of June.
Okay. And you fixed the leak at the middle school.
We have fixed the leak at the middle school for the time being.
Okay. You mean for the time being? It's going to leak again?
It might.
Well, part of the issue is with the masonry. That's been repaired. There's also another piece of it that has to do with the roof that will be taken care of with the roofing
Well,
project.
okay, so it's going to be taken care of when the roof is fixed. Okay. With the new roof, we'll fix that, hopefully. Okay.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Bill touched on something regarding staffing on a custodial side as well. So is that something that we should be going back, maybe not tonight, but at another meeting, looking at let me just get the other paperwork here, the custodial substitutes as well as tech substitutes, and I believe there was another one.
Cafeteria.
In special ed, right?
Yeah.
So,
Paras.
yeah, well, Melinda, is that something, or Kathleen, maybe we should have Melinda look at and come back to us next meeting?
Probably, yes.
Or does that all fall under the same encompassing package that we put together tonight?
I'm not sure because we were talking about substitutes for teachers. Right. And I'm sure there's a different pay scale on the custodians and.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a different, I think we need to look into that, but.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like it's something that's hitting all departments. So maybe we should look at it all encompassing.
Okay.
Roll up, for Bob Gentis to look at, maybe just give us some scenarios.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Anyone from technology here?
It's not here today. I think it's a vacation day for her.
Okay, well then we'll skip that tonight. And then,
And Chris is having connectivity issues.
Right. I marked that, so I won't going to call on him. So then I don't think we have any old business, so we'll go right to your superintendent's goals.
So I won't go through each individual strategy, but I'll at least read off the goals that I put in for myself for this year.
Okay.
The first one is implement the district's reopening plan in compliance with Advance Achieve Connecticut's plan to learn and grow together. Then there's some strategies under there that I will continue to implement and make sure that communication is the biggest barrier and can cause the most frustration. So being out there with communication is going to be key. Second goal, to coordinate our curriculum and professional development activities district-wide. Mr. Poulin still continues to manage our assessment calendar for us and assessments, and also working with the PDEC committee on the teacher evaluation tool. So those projects he still supervises. Supervised grant management, and we just completed, Bob and I, all the title grants that needed to be submitted. That previously was done by the curriculum director's office. And then Align District Goals to the Portrait of a Graduate. We've done a lot of work with that, and we wanted to put a rollout on tonight's agenda, but we thought we would be here till midnight. So we decided to push that off until next month.
Okay.
And so those are my 4 major goals, but obviously you have the strategies in the document that I provided to you.
Yes, I have it here. We have it here. Okay.
What am I missing? What document?
She sent an email today.
Earlier today,
Oh, this-
yeah,
Okay.
just so you would have it.
Hang on. Yep.
Okay.
I don't have it. All right.
All right. So I don't think we all have looked at this. She sent an email out this late morning or early afternoon with her goals for 2021 and
Yeah.
under each with strategies. I don't know how many of you have read this.
And you could certainly table it, but that's what I'm going to be working on until.
Yeah, I would suggest we table this until everybody has read them. I think they're very good goals, certainly needed by the district. And I have no problem with them, so work with these goals and we'll formally have you adopt them for you, but next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, and the next item on the agenda is to adopt the meeting dates for next year. And that's on the last page of our packet. Everybody have those dates?
Yeah.
I suppose they're fine, so I'll make a motion to accept the meeting dates.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, all right. Any discussion?
Do we have to change Columbus Day to National Indigenous Day?
Yes.
Not yet. It's still Columbus Day.
It's Columbus Day for me, and I understand that now Thanksgiving is going to be changed to National Fill Your Pie Hole Day, so that's fine too.
No, I don't agree with that.
I don't either.
I do not agree with Columbus Day. Read up on the history of Columbus Day.
Oh, we're not even going to get into that tonight.
All right, well, that's not part of the discussion tonight.
Okay.
That's right,
the
Bill.
discussion
Thank you,
is
Bill.
to adopt these meeting dates. So we have a motion on the floor. We have a second on the floor. So, okay. Any discussion besides silliness?
Fine.
Okay. So all those in favor of sending these as our official regular meeting dates to the town clerk, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, then the motion passes and we will send these on to Renee. Okay. All right. Okay, and now I read the correspondence under my chairman's update, so we can skip that. Any citizens' comments?
Really?
I know, huh? I think we went over them. No hearing, no citizens' comments. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All of those in favor of to adjourn, say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.